verdriet en saam staan jy sterk. Jy is altyd daar. Dit wat ons doen, ons liefdes, ons vreugdes, ons plekke, ons thuistes, tot daar waar ons reis, jy is daar. Afrikaans is ons wese. Dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Al verander straatname, al word helde laat val, ons is steeds deur ons adem, ons kultuur, ons verhaal, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese. Dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Ons is daarmee gebore, die taal waarvoor ons staan, dit vloei deur ons are, ons kinders praat dit saam, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese. Dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is. Dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir my mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense.
I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming, it's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Hey folks, welcome back. Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. It's Chris live in central Pennsylvania. And some exciting news. Substack is now offering live stream to all publishers. I have neglected my Substack account. The link is at the top up there. I will begin live broadcasting in Substack potentially as early as later today. So we'll give it a trial and see how it goes. We've done everything. We've tried live streaming on Facebook. Ugh, it's terrible. Tried live streaming on Rumble. Ugh, it's terrible. Odyssey. Ugh, terrible. YouTube is the only one that's perfected the model. Now Substack is allowing, I've live streamed on Twitter. It works, X, but it's not ideal. But we're going to see how it goes on Substack. I'll give it a shot. So if you'd like to become a subscriber to my written content, and now video content, Substack, the link is above the video, above the chat over there. Go ahead and check it out and become a subscriber. Appreciate that. Going to do the news a little bit differently today. A lot of big breaking news here in the United States. So we're going to start off with that, then move on to South Africa, which is unusual. We normally start our broadcast in South Africa and work our way around the continent and around the globe and come back with America. We will finish with American news today, but we're going to start with some news out of the U.S. Before we do that, though, let me say hello to everyone in the chat. We've got Tony Naj, as he said here at the beginning, Hendo, Teresa, Trevor Bush, Less Fun Ice says hello from Durbanville. Well, welcome. I know Durbanville. We're talking about the Western Cape, right? Yep. Answers here from PE. Val, I hope you're doing well today. The loss of your sister yesterday was tragic news for us to hear about. Monray Seabrit's in from Cape Town. He says it's wet today. Christo, welcome to you. Leilu, welcome. Neville Purden, thanks for all the wishes. My mom, she's doing better today, although she's highly medicated, probably described as floating. Yeah, it's tough, Neville. But it's people gotta have respect for you trying to take care of your mom at that level. Watch yesterday's win broadcast. Very interesting pronunciations. Screw the pronunciations. Here they came and pronounced it. Yeah, exactly. Determined. They say dead or mind. Yeah, exactly right, Neville. 100%. Still waiting on Pete. It's live now, Hendo. Pete Hegseth is currently undergoing his confirmation hearings at this hour. I started watching at the outset this morning, but I had a lot of work to do. I made a video, I'm making a video on education outcomes, the matric results. I'm talking about that, and I don't think I mentioned matric once in the video. It's about a 10-minute video. I'm editing it down now. I got about halfway through it and ran out of time. I had to go live. Otherwise, you'd be waiting for me to go live. So anyway, that'll be up hopefully a little bit later today. I don't want to go too late because it doesn't get a chance to flourish and soar. But I think it's a video probably only get about 2,000 views if I'm lucky, but it should get 50,000. By the way, yesterday's view has lost steam. Yesterday's video, not view. Yesterday's video is lost steam, but hey, it did pretty well. That Fikili's fantastic tour is at 27,000. Let me see if it's got a couple hundred past that. Come on, a little faster, YouTube. Faster. Come on. There you go, finally. 27,254 views. It was really soaring yesterday for several hours, and then it just died off. Things only get like one day of running, and they're done. The other two videos I didn't get much in the way of views, but that one did well. Anyway, so let's get back to the topics at hand here before we, let's say hello to everybody. Pablo Charlie's here, Dylan Combrick once again. Then the show started. We got Erica in here. Meerkat, Courtney's back. Welcome, Courtney. How's it going? How's the letter delivery service going there? I received mail last night, which I didn't get till this morning. I was kind of tired last night. Didn't get around to it. I'm behind. I have several things to do. We've had people misbehave at the Veterans Organization, so we have to send them the letters disciplining them. We got some work to do there, and I've got other things going on. Threw your back out, Mike, your sciatica nerve. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that, Courtney. I'm very sorry to hear that. Alan Coates, so welcome to you. Smee again. So are you getting some home rest then, or are you back to the salt mines delivering the mail as a letter carrier? You notice we don't say mailman. We stopped that a long time, but we say they're letter carriers. Okay. Steven says, hi from Crowfountain on a rainy day. Stephen, Crowfountain sounds like a place in Canada, a First Nations town. Sounds like Yellowknife or something like that. Crowfountain. Where is Crowfountain at, Stephen? Crowfountain very much sounds like a Canadian town. Meerkat says, not sure about his maturity to handle position as Secretary of Defense. It can't be worse than the ones we've had, so I'll go with it. Lloyd Austin was a joke. What about the Daily Wire? What about the Daily Wire, Meerkat? What about it? What's your question? Okay, these protesters really going to be doing it for the love of the game. Which protesters are we talking about? There's Rock Scales here. I missed Rock Scales. Somebody's greeting Rock Scales. Savage Daughter, Chantel Boyson's back. And who else we got there? Pete Hegseth, Arctic said, doing a good job. Dems just trash, rotten from the top. Agreed. Robert Franklin Moore, welcome to you. Brian Lawrenson, Holden Caulfield's back again. It's like a really cool name. Holden Caulfield sounds like a Major League Baseball player, or a 19th century author, or a politician. It's like Holden Caulfield, or an actor. It's a really cool name, man. Your parents did well. I'd never name my kid Holden, but it works with Caulfield. If you wonder about the power of media, still holds. Watch Dem senators throw unsubstantiated bull. Yeah, exactly. They're just throwing stuff they've got no evidence of. They just throw it out there. It's just ad hominem attacks, and it's disgraceful. People prefer trashy stories like Fikili's. Exactly, Meerkat. When I do good stories, but it's the funny part is like, well, this podcast only delivers bad news. Go get a grip on your appendage there, buddy. Stephanie Hatsamaika, hello to you. The fires are even worse than people realize. Going to talk briefly about that when we get started in the news here shortly. It's really, really bad. And it's all a consequence of human hubris and neglect, malfeasance, negligence. I've done one video on that, and I got like 100 and some views on my original channel, which has more subscribers than this channel by, at this point, a few hundred, and 100 and some views. On this channel, I got 2,100, and I got criticized Immediately after doing that video, when I did my next video on Fikele about, well, LA's on fire and you're talking about, complaining about a non-issue. Dude, I just did a video on LA. Open your eyes, close your mouth, and take the keyboard away from your fingers. Stephanie Hodson-Michael's back. Good to see you there again. He's at home. We're letting his back recover. Cool. An MRI. Ooh, that sounds serious. Magnetic resonance imaging. Well, that titanium plate in my hip isn't going to help. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Miss Pumba's here. Garrett Gilligan from Somerset West. Literal translation of Cryfontaine near Cape Town. I mostly grew up in Reed Fountain. Okay, thank you for that. Never be confirmed in office because no way I could not tell them to take the... Yeah, I'm telling you, that's a problem. Now, I've been confirmed by the Senate multiple times. As a military officer, commissioned officer, our commissions are required to be confirmed by the Senate. Now, it's easy when you become a lieutenant. They just send your name. Nobody knows who you are. The Senate signs it. When you get promoted to first lieutenant, it's a local administrative thing, so they don't have to do anything confirmed. Captain, you go before a centralized board, and from there, all of those confirmations are by the Senate. So there's actually, in the public record, my name listing when I was selected for promotion to major, lieutenant colonel, colonel. All those are available, and the Senate had to confirm me in all those. But fortunately, I don't have to appear before hearings. The hearings are not part of the Constitution. It's not required. It's something the Senate developed to learn about candidates, and in fact, a candidate can go before the Senate and get a losing vote. Say it's 9-3 against him becoming the Secretary of Defense. It still has to go to the floor for the Senate to vote on it, and he could still win. Okay. Chris, do you think the mayor and governor will be fired? No. Well, they can't be fired. The governor can be recalled. We did that in California previously. Was it Pete Wilson, or I think it got recalled, and then we got Arnold Schwarzenegger became the governor. The mayor, I'm not sure the process for removing the mayor, but it's not fired. You can't fire them. Liam Menard, welcome to you. All right, so folks, let me get to some of the news here. TRICARE insurance is pretty awesome. I would disagree. TRICARE insurance is a disaster. It's awesome from a cost standpoint, particularly if you have to do civilian insurance, but TRICARE is not a great deal when it comes to, I pay over $700 a year, something like that, for insurance, which isn't that much compared to what most people pay, but I'm supposed to get free medical care the rest of my life, and I'm entitled to free care as a disabled veteran, but I'm not getting it because I'm going to the same medical center. But they provide no services locally, and almost everything I go for I have to be referred, which means I have to pay a copay rather than getting the care at the facility. If I was live near a military installation like Fort Bragg, I could go to the hospital there and stand in line for 3 days and get free care across the board because they have everything there. They do everything, including surgeries there. So it's not ideal, but it's better than most people have, that's for sure, Courtney. So maybe that's what you're comparing it to. Prescription drugs, very cheap. Well, mine are free from the pharmacy. I get them free from the pharmacy. However, if I go off the installation, then I get charged for them. So, yeah, but that's, fair point. Thankfully, I don't need much in the way of medications, an occasional thing. Carets and Rams. Okay, Pablo, Charlie, thanks for sharing that. I missed the game as usual. I used to watch every football game there was, no matter how. Drunken Yoda's back. Oh, my goodness. How is Atlanta, brother? Been a while. Drunken Yoda's back. I begin to wonder where Drunken Yoda's been. Wow, it's good to see some names you haven't seen in a while. Okay, let's get to some of the news. We've got some breaking news here coming out, including Hamas has agreed to a draft agreement on a ceasefire. Can you believe that, folks? Now, how soon before Joe Biden rushes out to the microphone and goes, by foreign policy that responsible for the end of the conflict in Gaza and the Palestinians? Watch. Joe, what day is it? Yesterday? Joe Biden will rush out and take credit for the ceasefire agreement that is the result of Donald Trump coming into office and Hamas waking up to the reality that the gravy train is over. There will be consequences for the behavior, and the hostages must be relieved, along with the cadavers of those who passed away. Yeah, so Biden will take credit, just like the 1980 hostage release on the day that President Reagan was sworn in. Hamas has accepted a draft agreement for Gaza, ceasefire, and the release of hostages. Associated Press obtained a copy of the proposed agreement. An Egyptian official and a Hamas official confirmed its authenticity. An Israeli official said progress has been made, but the details are being finalized. United States, Egypt, Qatar have spent the past year trying to mediate the end of a 15-month war and secure the release of dozens of hostages captured in Hamas's October 7th attack that triggered it. Some of the 100 Israelis are still captive, and the military believes at least a third of them are dead. Well, they're not all Israelis. There are Americans there as well, plus other nationals from around the world, because these scumbags took anybody to get their hands on. Ron Paul says that Hamas is funded by Mossad years back. They're not funded by Mossad now. They're funded by the Iranians. So, interesting conversation by Piers Morgan. Let me play a little bit of this. This is Piers Morgan talking about the Los Angeles mayor. I really found this interesting. Let's listen in on this. I don't want to show the video because I don't want to get a copyright strike.
Incredibly qualified. She's clearly really good at PR, and I think she's really good at her job. So
I don't think she's a DEI hire. I've got to say, Karen Bass.
People are saying that.
Karen Bass, though, is a different matter. She smacks to me of a DEI appointment in the sense ridiculous. Of how the hell did someone like that?
She was democratically elected.
Fine, I know.
How does a democratically elected?
I know.
How was a democratically elected mayor a DEI hire?
Let me tell you how that happens in Los Angeles. Because
all right, so Piers Morgan goes off. He's not been reliably conservative. He's been all over the place over the years, but Piers Morgan is going off with a panel he had on Piers Morgan Uncensored. This is shown on Rumble, and you got the Democratic activist over there. How is she a DEI hire? The point that Piers Morgan is saying is, and he'll say it here later on, is that people voted for her simply because she was black, not because she's competent. By the way, while we're in that vein, the lady in the center, the young lady in the center, who's articulate, talented, has an asinine tattoo on her arm, but that's her prerogative. A mixed-race young lady is involved with Prager. Prager likes to pimp and promote young people who fit a demographic, even though it's conservative platform. So this is, she doesn't talk in this segment, but Piers Morgan goes off, and it's hilarious to watch this.
Until this fire, actually, and this may change everything for the political dynamic of Los Angeles. If you live in LA, as much as I have in the last 20 years, you are living in woke central. You're living in a place where a large number of the electorate literally would vote for people because of their skin color and because of their...
Oh my goodness, it sounds like South Africa. People vote for people based solely on their skin color? That sounds a lot like South Africa. The wildfires is a natural disaster. Non-meteorologists talking about this is imbecilic. It's sad, and people need aid now. People need aid. Well, Tottenham, actually, you're mistaken. Why would a meteorologist be talking about this? A forestry expert can be talking about this. A water expert can be talking about this. Someone that's versed in community and regional planning. Someone with graduate work and postgraduate studies in community and regional planning on how you build communities and how you design them. Maybe someone like that. Who do we know that has postgraduate work in community and regional planning? Someone that's been involved in forestry planning, someone that worked in agriculture, someone that won accolades and awards as far back as high school for their work in water conservation and usage. I know. Me. I'll talk about it all day long because I'm very well versed in this, and I've talked about this for years before it occurred. This is nonsense. This is a man-made catastrophe of epic proportions. And yes, the winds are the reason why the fire jumps. But if people did live 2 inches away from each other, clustered in the desert, next to a place with inadequate supply, with power lines that years later, decades later, are still not buried underground, but stay above ground to present targets for fires, sparking, creating new fires. If people did not prevent controlled burns for the natural burning off of vegetation rather than allowing a tinderbox to form, all these things might play a role. If the power lines for water pumps from reservoirs had been stored underground rather than above ground, then perhaps there would have been sufficient power to pump water up from reservoirs. That's just saying. But anyway, so thank you, Tottenham Finest, for that thought. But it's not imbecilic. It's actually excellent. Those who are qualified analysts to know what they're talking about, and I put myself in that boat. But let's go back to Piers Morgan and see what's going on here, because Piers is not talking about the fire. He's talking about the performance of the mayor. And I think that's apropos to talk about her performance here. So let's continue with what he had to say.
Agenda. We've already, just from that thing I read out, established she's an absolute liar when it comes to what she promised in her campaigning and what she then did as mayor. In terms of
Exactly. She promised as a representative running for mayor of Los Angeles that she would not travel overseas. Now, that's a stupid comment. It's kind of like the thing with Herman Mashaba. You'll see that in my upcoming interview with Athol Trollop, in which Athol says, never say never in politics, which is what Herman Mashaba said. Yeah, said never. So that's right. Never say never in politics. And she never should have said, I'll never travel overseas. She said, I won't be able to travel overseas as much as I did because it's not a primary focus of my job as mayor. That would have been good. But she's arrogant. She's an asshat. And Piers Morgan's calling her out, and he's right to call her out.
getting on the first plane that came along to Ghana when she said she wouldn't leave America. So to me, the DEI thing runs endemically through some of these places. LA has become a woke...
What makes a DEI...
I love it. He's triggered. That guy is such a slime ball. Such a slime ball. He tries so hard to carry the water for Democrats. Look at the rest of them.
I'm telling you...
I'm going to be very clear. That
you're
is
not understanding
racist.
Let me be very clear to you first. What I'm saying is there are large numbers
You're calling someone who is democratically elected a DEI hire.
Let me finish. I'm telling you what I mean by that. She won...
All right, let me go back. Tottenham says, if Gavin Newsom suggests people not build and live there, that would be another GOP talking point. No, Tottenham, you're missing the point. People never should have lived in such proximity. Los Angeles should never be a city of 8 million people. It's ridiculous. That many people should never have lived there. It's pushing the margins of the ecology to ridiculous levels. Too many people. Overpopulated. And over-densified. The foolhardiness of building McMansions along ridgelines in sensitive areas. I've been talking about this for years. People are complaining, oh, the cougars, the mountain lions are in our neighborhood. No, you're in their neighborhood. You built your freaking home in their neighborhood. That's why there's mountain lions there. Not because they came and visited you. You went and visited them. So thank you for the $5. Courtney lying on his back on top of an ice pack watching my show. I've been talking about the hubris of people in California for years. So where Tottenham said, so it's not a GOP talking point. They may use it, but it's been a fact for years. Too many people. I've lived in Los Angeles decades ago, and it was too many people there in the 60s. Too many people there now. He said, I like saying North Carolina was poorly built and floods last year was the governor's fault. No, the floods last year weren't the governor's fault, and North Carolina is not poorly built, but people building houses on the edge of bodies of water or on a hillside in geologically unstable soil and rock strata is foolhardy. Manhattan is in a perfect spot. Manhattan sits on granite. That's why you can build these huge skyscrapers, because they have that. But that said, you got two rivers on each side of Manhattan, and they can flood. So hubris. And we know this because the lower portion of Manhattan didn't exist. It's all landfill. It was filled in on top of that. But listen, this is just, it's not a GOP talking point. It's a fact. And we already see this now. The talking point that people come up now is a conspiracy theory that this was all planned. It was all planned. They want to burn it all down so they can buy the land up and build. I think that's utter nonsense. This is incompetence. This is arrogance. This is hubris. This is nature also playing a role. It's all tied together. But thank you, Tottenham Finest. I hope I answered that. Fire makes its own win. Yep. Interesting that the only DI panel member took offense to calling the mayor DI hire. Well, he's not the only DI hire. I think that the young lady from Prager is a DI hire based on the way Prager handles this. The people they put out, their spokesman. She is big and famous because Prager made her big and famous, not because she got there on her own talent. I'm not saying she's not talented. Certainly not saying she's not attractive, other than that hideous tattoo on her arm. But yeah, personally don't care. What's this? Don't care what race you are. I don't care what political party you are. I voted for the person who has the best track record. Well, I would agree. That's how I tend to vote, but you don't always get the best choice. Land cannot sustain the population. Exactly. Leftists believe in overpopulation because they live in few populated. Exactly. They live in places that are overpopulated. That's why they believe in overpopulation. Yep. Courtney left LA in 2012, moved to Utah. My life improved immediately. Exactly. It's climate change. If they believe it's climate change and know what's going to happen, why didn't they do something to prevent the fires? Exactly. Exactly. Light rain. I'm going to turn this off. Let's put this into perspective of reality here. Okay. All right. So we've been told since Al Gore that the oceans are rising, that the world is coming to an end. That was 25 years ago. 25 years ago. And little Greta Thunberg, that's already 7 or 8 years ago. So we've known about this for years. Why haven't they done something to prevent this? I mean, they can't stop the Santa Anita winds. They come every year, seasonally. It's kind of like El Nino or La Nina. They come every year. You know this happens. So what have you done to mitigate it? What have you done to mitigate this? Did you buy up properties when people sold and turn it into parks to create space between houses? Did you reduce water usage? Did you restrict water usage? Did you build? No, they didn't do any of this because they don't care, because they're incompetent. These are fools. They have no vision. They're not leaders. They don't think for the future. They don't think for the future. This is the problem. This is the problem. The world over, we are being led by idiots, morons, and we see it right now on display. Look at the comments and questions coming from Democrats on the nomination of Pete Hegseth. Ridiculous. Ad hominem attacks, no founding whatsoever, because they don't want him to be there. Why? Why? You think Lloyd Austin was a gem? You think Donald Rumsfeld was a gem? Give me a break. Tottenham says, so we agree that blaming California, Florida, North Carolina governors is nonsensical. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. I do blame the California governor. They just funded $50 million to fight Donald Trump's administration. $50 million. Do you know how many fire bombers I could buy and helicopters I could buy? With that, I could buy at least a dozen fire bombers and helicopters and fund them every year for several years and have the flame retardant and have the water resources and the crew maintenance and the qualifications all in place. At least a dozen on station in Los Angeles. That $50 million they just pissed down the drain so they can fight the Trump administration. These people are evil. Absolutely evil. $13 billion. I think Tottenham. We'll get to the news in a minute. But like $13 billion wasted on the high-speed rail from Los Angeles to San Francisco. For what? A leftist, self-pleasuring, hate-wanking fantasy that doesn't come true. It's been 2 decades. It's not complete. They've only done like 100 miles of it, if that. $13 billion. Do you know how much money could have been used to prevent these fires? Only you can prevent forest fires. That's what Smokey the Bear says. And he's true. Only you can prevent them. Yep. Yes, Hendo, she's always on Prager. And that's who makes and breaks her. Yeah, because she's young. And I guess she's hot. Okay, she's attractive. Anyway, but I mean, come on. Yeah, yes, I do blame the California governor. I do. I absolutely do. Because his priorities aren't firefighting or fire prevention. His priorities are hating on Trump and craving political power. This scumbag is the same one that went to restaurants during lockdown. He was having Californians arrested for being on the street. Yet he was hanging out at a swanky restaurant, having dinner with no mask on, sitting next to 20 people. And he got caught, but he did it all the time. So no, I don't give him a free pass. He's guilty. He's complicit. And Karen Bass is guilty. What the hell is she doing in Ghana? LA has 9% of the population that's black. 9. You'd think it was 100% based on the history. Mayor Bradley, this woman, it's actually 47% Hispanic. No majority ethnic group in Los Angeles. 47% Hispanic, 28% white, 9% black. Yet it's all black all the time. Why? Why is she in Ghana? And if you're going to tell me, well, she's there representing all of the citizens of Los Angeles, why? Is Los Angeles a sister city with Tema, with Kumasi, with Secunda, with Accra? No, it's not. It's not a sister city. She has no business being in Ghana. This is because she thinks she's black. In the sun, she's whiter than I am. She thinks she's black, and therefore she's going to take the privilege and waste the money of the taxpayers to go to Ghana for the inauguration of President Mahama, which she has no business being there for. Watch it on YouTube like I did. You privileged elite little turd. And the same with Gavin Newsom. This better be the end of Gavin Newsom. This slime ball has risen to the highest levels because he's Nancy Pelosi's nephew. He's incompetent of the highest order. He couldn't even keep his marriage together with what's her name? Trump's son's girlfriend there. What's her name? I can't remember her name right now. Anyway, used to be on Fox. Climate change, yeah. Why didn't they do something? Exactly right, Light Rain. Okay. I think it's pretty cool to listen to her podcast often. I'm not complaining about her podcast, and I'm not saying she's not talented. I'm just saying the reason she's there is because Prager's promoting her. So she becomes famous. She gets to go on Piers Morgan because Prager put her out there. Not because she's an expert. Don't for a second think this woman's an expert. It's like Candace Owens. She's not an expert. Charlie Kirk's not an expert. They're not experts. Believe in climate change. Just look at Eastern Cape desertification is so tragic. I'll admit I don't know what to do to stop climate change. Well, one way to stop climate change is for people to stop being silly about it. Stop being silly. The planet is not here to prevent people from using it, but we do have a responsibility to be good stewards of it, conserve it. And the ridiculous misuse of land by people is one of the reasons why we have these challenges. But also looking at climate change in the time frame of 1 century is absolutely outrageous. The lies we're told about climate change are unbelievable. Carbon dioxide is not a poison. Carbon dioxide is necessary for plants to thrive. Without plants, we all die. The cattle can't eat grass because it won't grow. The leaves on the trees can't be eaten by insects because there won't be any leaves because the trees will die. They need carbon dioxide. They take carbon dioxide and they convert it into the things that we need. That's what they do. And then we consume oxygen released by the plants, and we, in turn, release carbon dioxide. It's a virtuous cycle, yet it's been lied to. Oh, because we have an unprecedented amount of carbon dioxide in the air. No, it's not unprecedented. Krakatoa put more carbon dioxide in the air in one explosion millions of years ago than we'll ever put in the air. And life survived. It continued. Yes, there are effects from the climate changing, but the climate changes back and forth. We had the little ice age. It destroyed the Norse settlements in Greenland, the eastern, the middle, and the western settlement. Gone because of climate change. It could no longer be a climate in which the Norse could have their sheep, goat, and cattle flourishing on grass. That wasn't there because it's all frozen. So the settlements died out, or they relocated to Iceland. I believe they relocated to Iceland for the most part, but we've never proven that. The little ice age. The little ice age, the Thames River froze solid for years. Not for a season, not for a day, for years. Millions of people perished in Europe during the little ice age just a millennia ago. Climate does change all the time. The earth is in an orbit. It wobbles. The solar storms. It's ridiculous, this nonsense. Yes, we should stop producing so much carbon dioxide, but not if we freeze to death and starve to death. That's ridiculous. Apparently, used to have fire breaks, walls, etc. They haven't been maintained for years. That's correct. If you watch the exclusive footage that I shared the other day, which was passed to me by a firefighter who's on the ground in Los Angeles through an intermediary, if you look at that exclusive footage from a helicopter, you will see the top of a ridgeline, a wide swath of cleared vegetation. That's a fire break, so the fire didn't leap over the ridgeline. Yep, but these things haven't been maintained. You're correct. Charles Van Onsland's here. Welcome, Charles. How sad, as a beach person, the best beaches appear to be in this crap hole state. What's that? Colonel Wyatt, what pisses me off with this climate change stuff is that whilst there's a degree of truth to it, politicians make it sound worse. Exactly. They're gaslighting people. Jealousy makes you nasty, Colonel. I don't see you coaching your coaching qualifications, and yet you comment on Southern Rugby. You haven't seen my coaching qualifications? Well, Matthew, you haven't been present when I coached football, when I coached basketball, and when I coach baseball in America. Done that with youth, done that with adults, done it all. So what exactly qualifies you to be a coach there, Matthew? So please share with me I know you're trolling, but what qualification? A university degree? There's no such thing. Now, I have been a coach, and I've been a successful coach. And I say successful because building young men and women into healthy, stronger, confident, successful, competing young adults and won basketball championships and winning football games. So yes, I've been a coach. I have coached, and I've done it successfully. What's your point there, Matthew? Meerkat says, take a deep breath. Why? Why do I need deep breath? It's cow farts. Yeah, cow flatulence. That's the problem. Remember earthquakes in Los Angeles. Anyone know if there's always earthquakes in Los Angeles. I didn't hear about that, though. Candace says Macron's wife is a man. Does she? To add to my last comment, there's no evidence we are any part of it. The link between is disputable, says Patrick. It may be disputable, but there is no dispute of how much carbon dioxide we have released. That's pretty clear. We can quantify that. Where it goes is the question. It's ironic. Most of it goes in the ocean. It's ironic that the Los Angeles Fire Department Deputy Chief Larson's name was Arson. It's arson. And yeah, that is ironic. Climate always changed. That's true. It's scientists. She got lawyer's letter. What's this? President Trump's whisper. Yeah, President Trump, do this. Buy Greenland. Leilu. The fire is racist. Is it really? Rossi qualifies by drinking lots of KWV and Coke. You should think going to rugby coaching. I would mind going to rugby coaching, but it's a bit late to be a professional rugby coach. Back to Piers Morgan. Let's hear the end of this because this has really sparked a conversation. It's been interesting. We're almost there.
That she won as a democratically elected person. That is true. She's the mayor. However, I think a lot of people voted for her because she was a black woman, not because she's any good at her job.
Correct.
That's an LA woke problem.
Do you have any evidence of that?
Yeah. Look how incompetent she is.
How many black people have been mayor of LA? You say it's been decades of wokeness and skin color voting. How many black mayors have there been in the history of LA?
I think it's been getting worse and worse.
How many black mayors have there been in the history of LA, Piers?
I'm telling you, in her case, I believe she is woefully incompetent, should never have got the job, and people voted for her because in their head, all they're getting told all day long in places like Los Angeles is DEI, DEI, DEI. That's all they hear about.
What qualification was she lacking to be mayor?
Have you common sense? That'd be one. Oh my goodness!
You watched her pronouncements? Have you watched her pronouncements?
I've watched her for 12 years in Congress. I've watched her advance legislation.
I've watched her
have political experience.
Advanced legislation. Cities don't have legislation; they have ordinances. So it's not laws; they're ordinances. So I don't know what he's talking about. He's talking about advanced legislation in the House of Representatives, which is where she's not serving now. Boy, look how torched he is, how offended he is by all this. It's comical.
Prior to joining the U.S. Congress and being a standing member of Congress, she's qualified. You may not like.
No, I think she's incompetent. It's worse than that. I don't care if I like her or not.
Her political credentials are pretty strong. I think that...
No, they're not. Her political credentials aren't strong. The fact that you win an election doesn't mean you're qualified or good at what you're doing. That's ludicrous. She wasted our taxpayer money taking vacations to Africa every couple months for multiple years. That's not a qualification. That's privilege. Yep.
Her reaction to this crisis...
Oops, there you go. That's it. So that was the end of that. Is there anything you're not an expert in? Is the question there. All right, so Jonah's being a smartass. Is there anything you're not an expert in? Well, pick a subject, Jonah. You pick a subject, and I'll tell you if I'm not an expert
responsible for it.
What's this?
Now you've got the media.
Now we got Megyn Kelly. I don't want that. So hang on a second here. It's still open. I got to close that. So, Jonah, pick a subject, and I'll tell you if I'm an expert in it or not. I've already told this story many, many times, and anyone's yet to prove me wrong. Pick a topic. If I'm not familiar with it, give me a few hours, and then come back and talk to me, and you'll probably be surprised at what you hear. So, Jonah, I'm waiting. Pick a topic, and I'll tell you where the RJ says French pastries. I'm not a subject matter expert in French pastries. I'm not. I'll tell you that right now. But I can learn an awful lot about them very quickly and make cogent analysis. See, that's the thing. See, that's the part missed on you, Jonah, and so many other detractors. You know, if you're a qualified, talented, insightful analyst that knows how to take information, ingest information, and reach logical conclusions or make reasonable projections or predictions about what's going to happen based on the past and based on intentions. If you can do that, you can do that in any field. It just takes a little bit of time to become familiar with the stuff. Do you think I was an expert on Iraqi offense and defense when I went to Saudi Arabia in 1990 and then wound up in combat against the Talwakana Division, the Republican Guards, and the 52nd Infantry Division, the 10th Division? Do you think in that we actually knew anything about the Iraqis? I knew a little bit about Iraqis because I was a historian. I knew a bit about it, but certainly wasn't trained to be an expert in it. But I applied the skills that I had already learned as an intelligence analyst to the situation, learn the equipment, and some of it I was familiar with because some of it was Chinese and Russian and a little bit South African artillery too, the G5s. All that, put it together, and then nobody in my unit died in combat. Now, that was a bit of luck. Also, great air campaign, thankfully, from the Air Force and our allies, but also the analysis that was done on the spot in the heat of battle, wearing body armor, chemical suits, mask, with 6 radios screaming in my ear, artillery rounds going off around my head. Yeah, was not an expert. Well, certainly became one very quickly, and it made all the difference in the world. I cannot square dance, Maricat. Thank you. That's another thing I'm not an expert in. Okay. Trump should choose Megyn. Yeah, Megyn Kelly would be a good spokesperson, but he's got beef with her. Hogan Caulfield is just curious about Tonga Tonga. Tonga Tonga was a disaster. It was a disaster because they ran that Special Forces ODA into the ground. They were exhausted. They were ill-prepared. But what they did do is they fought valiantly. It's a shame that the propaganda video was made of them that with screams dubbed into it and all the lies, and they were executed in total violation of the rule of warfare, which these people aren't war, they're just bandits. The Tonga Tonga was unnecessary and it was foolish. It also exceeded the authorization of what they were there to do, the mission. All kinds of problems with Tonga Tonga. So, yeah. Anyway, lots of news to get to here. So, polar drift. Okay, RJ. Carry your water bottle. 2028 Olympics will be an embarrassment. Could be. I think I'm worried about the World Cups coming to America. Those I'm very concerned about. Yep, how that's going to go. The only qualification she does not have is a brain. Okay. Dire Straits Boston edition. Hilarious. Welcome, Dire Straits Boston edition. Boston as in New England, or Boston as in England, where it actually came from, or Boston as in near Belleville in South Africa. Piers is correct. I agree. Hey, Freelance Kate, how's it going? Colonel loves the LGBTQ plus and is an expert. Well, I'm sure I'm pretty well versed on some of the issues that are related to that community. That's for darn sure. People do have overall knowledge on most subjects. That's why they call it general knowledge. Okay, what else we got here? Tony says 100% Colonel. Okay, every word that came out of his mouth was devil's voice. Mandela terrorist. What? Where did Mandela come from, man? Not what to know, how to know. Can you just square Nancy? Nope. Trolls will always hide their true selves. Trolls are hideous creatures. Agreed. Is Eric off to dinner? Okay. We know very little respect the whole universe. Trolls like libtards spying on the area. Okay, and what else? Holden says, is that the reason why Trump called the Joint Chiefs to the Oval Office? Well, Holden, I'd have to check the date and see what's going on there. Pablo says, why don't you have a more colorful world map? Are you anti-LGBTQ? Because that's what was available through Amazon, that map back there. It's a pain in the butt to hang up. It's in 3 pieces. You know, I got to put little pins at the bottom so that it hangs just right. Very frustrating. And I get constantly berated, especially on rugby, by Kiwis because, oh, your map is wrong. You don't even have New Zealand on it. New Zealand is on it. But after they made the map, they spray painted it, and they painted the edges for effect. You can see that each corner there is spray painted in black. And so actually New Zealand is on the map. It's right there, and it's painted over. You can see the north part of the island up that goes up right there. So they painted over it. Definitely not Boston the band. More than a feeling. You don't like Boston? All right. I saw Boston live. There's only one guy left in the band. Saw Boston 1995 at Iowa State University at the Hilton Coliseum. Wow, it was incredible. Yep. More than a feeling. I love that song. Anyway, back to the news. We haven't got through the breaking news. So there's Karen Bass. Unprecedented new extreme fire alert hits Los Angeles, folks. It's not getting better. It's getting worse in Los Angeles. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Extreme fire alert brings danger to Southern California for the next 2 days. There's an aerial view of neighborhoods destroyed by the Palisades fire. Notice the trees are still standing, but all the houses are gone, to the ground, razed. Looks like Nagasaki. Unprecedented fourth particularly dangerous situation fire weather warning took effect Tuesday morning, expected to last through Wednesday. National Weather Service reserves the designation for signifying extreme red flag warning. During each of the 3 warnings issued this season, destructive wildfires erupted. Man, good Lord. Here you go. Look at that. Red flag warning. Good Lord. Virtually everything except the built-up areas of Los Angeles have a red flag warning. And there's a particularly dangerous warning for, Santa Clarita, Oxnard. Whew, man, that's some bad mojo right there. Bad mojo. Well, Donald Trump took to Truth Social to lambaste Jack Smith's report. He went off. Jack Smith released his report, and he's gone off on it. Here's what he said. Deranged Jack Smith was unable to successfully prosecute the political opponent of his boss, crooked Joe Biden, so he ends up writing yet another report based on information that the Unselect Committee of Political Hacks and Thugs illegally destroyed and deleted because it showed how totally innocent I was and how completely guilty Nancy Pelosi and the others were. Jack is a lame-brained prosecutor who was unable to get his case tried before the election, which I won in a landslide. The voters have spoken. To show you how desperate deranged Jack Smith is, he released his fake findings at 1 a.m. in the morning. Did he say that the Unselect Committee illegally destroyed and deleted all the evidence? I love it. Trump is killing it. He's killing it. He's killing it. Deranged Jack Smith. Oh, my goodness. Chris was also ready to DJ. I was a DJ. Thank you, Dire Straits. That's correct. I was a DJ. I was a radio DJ. I was a dairy farmer. I've worked in epidemiology. Oh, my goodness. And then I have community regional planning experience. Look, I'm a savant, man. I mean, I'm a Renaissance man. You learn something all the time. I'm a beekeeper. I just did that to become a beekeeper. You spend your time traveling through life, and some of us consider life a learning experience and are constantly trying to learn and adapt and become better informed. And it's just natural for me. I have a hunger, a curiosity for information. I have a feeling we're going to see lots of environmental emergencies during Trump's term. Fire is totally out of control. Yeah. What don't you trust? That the fires aren't out of control? Something I never bothered to Google. How far is USA from far east if you keep on traveling east? Jonas, the other day you added law enforcement officers to your long list, and now today you've been a football coach. Seems to be knowing your talents. Okay, well, Jono, I am a federal law enforcement officer, and I didn't add it to my talents. I'm a federal law enforcement officer, a counterintelligence agent in the United States Army. Been qualified to be that since 1997. I have investigated cases of espionage and criminal disclosure of classified information. I've done background investigations of Americans, and I've done other things which I can't discuss publicly. So yes, I am a federal law enforcement official. That's not new. I've never made that. It's on my CV. It's not new. It's not something I made up. It's a matter of fact. In fact, the one thing I haven't done is that when you retire, you can pay for, request they take your badge and they mount it on this board, and they send it to you as a retirement gift. I retired 5 years ago, and I keep meaning to do it, and I never get around to it because I'm just not that self-absorbed that I want it. But it would be kind of cool. And in fact, Jono, you've just prompted me to do that. I'm going to contact Fort Huachuca, and I'm going to find out if they still do the program and if I can get my badge. And then if I can get my badge, which the last time I saw it was put in a safe in Vicenza, Italy, as I left that assignment. You're not allowed to carry your badge around if you're not currently serving in a law enforcement capacity. And so when I left Vicenza, I was not serving in a law enforcement capacity, and that's where it was stored. But yeah, no, I'm a federal law enforcement official. That's not new. That's not unusual, Jonah, but thank you for asking. Pay extra for Matt without New Zealand says awkwardly on. Oh my goodness. So on the map, New Zealand is all black. Exactly, Nick. The map, that's it. It's all black. In honor of the rugby team, it's all black. What's the worst fire ever in the world? Oh, jeez. There have been some bad ones. Friends and colleagues just landed in the USA. Legal resident immigrants. Anybody want to guess how long it took him and how much it cost? Just landed in the USA and he's a legal resident. I'm not sure how you just land in the USA and be a legal resident. Are you saying your friend just landed here with a green card? Yeah, but depends. It depends. It can take a long time. Among other things, I was a cop in the Army, but it's not really the same as being a cop. Have you vetted your subscribers? No, Meerkat, I haven't vetted my subscribers. That's part of the challenge here. You're never too old. Actually, I've vetted my mods, though. Kruger's a little wet at the moment. Okay. All right. Back to the news. So Gavin Newsom and the California Democrats in the legislature just approved spending $50 million to Trump-proof the state of California to fight him. The first in its kind agreement would fund litigation against the incoming administration and protect against potential mass deportation of criminal alien invaders. California Democrats reached a $50 million agreement to shore up the state and local legal defenses against the incoming administration just a week ahead of the president-elect's inauguration. Half the money would go for fending off mass deportation. The move is the first of its kind in the nation that positions California to lead a second-term resistance against Donald Trump. So $50 million for fighting Trump, who's not even the president, but not for the fires. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it will go very fast. You're right. But that's a start. That's the first allocation. Once it runs out, they'll allocate more. Working on a visa, status change, legal resident. There you go. Well, legal resident is a green card holder. That does take time. You have to reside here for a period of time. You have to meet standards, and you have to have no criminal record, which for some people is not easy. Elon is potentially buying TikTok. Now, there have been statements from TikTok rubbishing this claim, but in fact, there have been confirmations of it that they're considering selling the U.S. TikTok to Elon Musk. The TikTok drama, which is at the Supreme Court on Friday, took another twist Tuesday amid rumors that billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk is discussing as a potential buyer. Legislators cited national security concerns as a basis for banning the app under the current ownership. We cannot be expected to comment on pure fiction, a TikTok spokesperson told Barron's in an emailed comment when asked about the reports. The snarky, snide response from TikTok would indicate to me that there's probably some merit to these conversations. Otherwise, they wouldn't act in the fashion they did. Parliament wants the Zulu king to come see them over the Inganyama Trust. That's not good. Yeah, Parliament's Land Reform Portfolio Committee wants to meet King Mzizulu Zwelithini to resolve the crisis caused by the breakdown in relations between him and the Inganyama Trust. Well, that spells bad news for him. Bad mojo. So let's talk about the education situation, folks. That's a forthcoming video from me, which will be up here shortly after this broadcast, if things go well. So let me just check in on something very quick. I want to take a quick peek here. Nope, nothing changed. All right. So lots of news stories on the education, the matric results. How's that? Is that better, folks? Matric. Just think when Joe's funeral procession takes place, which will be soon. You know, Arctic, you're saying that $50 million is nothing in terms of legal bills. You're correct, but $50 million for firefighting equipment goes a long way. $50 million for fuel for aircraft goes a long way. Goes a long, long, long way. A long way. So that money could be better spent elsewhere. Could have been spent elsewhere. Education experts weigh in the matric results show promise but raise critical questions for the future. Well, indeed they do. Professor Sierra Niker, head of the Department of Education, Leadership Management and the Education Faculty at the University of Johannesburg, expressed surprising cautious optimism. My first impression was that I was surprised that it went up, but I have to give credit to the class for doing that. Okay. Yeah, well, there's a lot of problems with it, and we'll talk about that. The matric results, basic education deputy minister clarifies the 30% pass mark. In a propaganda news story from the Times Live, she claims that people are misspeaking. In a nutshell, all that needs to be said is that 30%, which people are singing and it becomes a nice song, and some are even joining the song without understanding the notes, is not a pass mark and has never been and never will be. Really? It's not a pass mark? I'm sorry, sweetheart. What exactly is this? It's not a pass mark. Let's just talk about that very quickly, folks. And I'm going to rubbish this lie coming from the ANC and the left, which has been repeated for years. Oh, these are just racist. Who's talking about race? All students are affected, white, brown, black. Nobody's talking about race. They're just racist, trying to undermine the ANC. Oh, the ANC, which was a multiracial party until recently. Yeah, no. You're just wrong. You're just factually wrong. Here's the bottom line when it comes to the standards in South Africa. They're abysmally low. As simple as that. Here you go. Let's take a look at this. These are the actual. So in the news story, they publish the standards. And she says, the 30% think it's just a myth. It's not true. Really? It's worse than 30%. 50% is the top one. Oh, yes. Let's talk about this. Oh, yes, Deputy Minister. You want to tell us your nonsense? Here you go. This is the NSC. All right, folks, the NSC. So these are the standards for the National Senior Certificate, NSC. To get to the bachelor level, which allows you to go on to university, a candidate must obtain 40% in his or her home language. 40%! 40%! So can you imagine? I will read this book. Actually, let me get a book. Okay, here we go. Who rules South Africa? Okay, let's read the book. You know, English is my mother tongue. It's my first language. So let me see what happens when I read it. So I get a 40%, means that the second caveat was that though an edel force modal, I don't understand what that means. 40%? 40%? New York City, are you crazy? 40% in your first language? That's considered passing. That's at all three standards, all three levels. You need just 40%. Are you high? Apparently they are. In order to go on to university, you must get 50% in 4 subjects. 50%? That means you get 50% wrong. 50% wrong. And you go to university? No wonder our universities are full of dumbasses. 50% in 4 subjects. You go to university. What kind of planet are these people living on? And you must obtain at least 30% in language of learning. And teaching in the tertiary. And 30% in one other subject. You must pass 6 to 7 subjects. Really? That's the passing out mark that qualifies you for university. Okay, let's talk about a diploma, which qualifies you for lesser education in the caste system that the British Anglo-Saxon world, the Anglo world, the British system of caste. You know, you don't get to go on to university because you only did this well, so you get a diploma. You don't get a bachelor, you get a diploma. So your pass rate on the NSC is diploma. That's half of the people who took the test. 350,000 people didn't make it. Over 350,000 people didn't make it. All they get is a diploma. So you can go on to tech school or vocational school. Here we go. For that, you need 40% in your first language. You need 40% in 3 other subjects. The other one, you need a 50%. And 30% in the language of teaching. So where is this not 30%? That's bullshit. And then just to hand you a piece of paper to get rid of you. Aha, you finished school. Get out. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. You're done. We're not going to teach you anymore. It's not our responsibility. Of course, you're functionally illiterate. You can't read and write. You don't math. You're useless. Maybe you can go mop somebody's floors or, I don't know, be their gardener. That's so. But you graduated high school. You should be so proud of yourself. You have a higher certificate. Wow. So you got to get 40% in your first language, 40% in 2 subjects, 30% in 4 other subjects, 30%. So she lies. She says, I've always told you that you need 30% in 3 subjects and 40% in your first language. For a higher certificate, you actually only need 30% in 4 subjects. 4 subjects, not 3, 4. So it's worse than I've ever reported. Yet this fake deputy minister, who no doubt is from the ANC, I haven't checked her party affiliation, tries to tell us it's not that bad. What a crock. What an absolute crock. These people are dangerous. Regina Maule. Wow. So the matric pass rate, not so good, folks, not so good. Soars, but minister sounds alarm on science and math problems. She's right. While the industries in which they pursue careers are vital, the number of STEM candidates has fallen sharply. Yep. Way down. So we can play with the numbers and massage and pretend that South Africans are being educated. Here's the bottom line. These test results don't matter. The question is, can these students achieve at the next level? Are the students who receive the higher certificate functionally literate and capable of reasonable, cogent conversation and deduction and analysis? No, they're not, by and large. They're not. And STEM graduates are declining when South Africans need 4th Industrial Revolution qualified students to go to university who can excel in math, engineering, science, genetics, robotics, artificial intelligence. But you're not getting that. But we're being told it's record graduation, 87.3%. Yeah! Oh, Hercules. Michael Holmes says, no offense, Colonel, but you're completely wrong. Most of our good universities require you to have a distinction average to even enter the universities. We need better education. That's simply not true. That's factually untrue, Michael Holmes. And we can point to an Afrikaans student who got 9 distinctions 2 years ago or 3 years ago and was denied entry into Stellenbosch because he was white. Yeah, no. Plenty of students get into university who are underqualified. And Michael Holmes, getting a qualification, a distinction in... What's the one? What's the one there? Let me go back to that. Go back to the story. What do they call that thing? Life experiences. What is that thing? Yeah. Life orientation. Getting a distinction that is not a distinction. That's a joke. That's like taking home ec. So, Michael, no, I'm not taking offense. Thank you for your comment. No, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. Look at the results. Where are the entrepreneurs in South Africa? Well, what things are being created? What's being modeled? You used to have lots of things came out of South Africa. The first heart transplant, the first successful commercial transfer of the Ribbentrop process to take, take coal and turn it into synthetic oil. The list goes on and on. South Africa was an innovator for decades. It's not an innovator anymore. Why is that? Dumb shits can't even rewrite their own cock language. People who can read don't steal. Thieves can't read, so they steal. DA now so proud of the education system. Yeah, that's another thing. People are going to criticize for that. Jacobson with only 5 years education is the role model here. How are they going to teach the future of the kids if they don't know jack crap? Exactly. My youngest daughter did matric in 2012. Lowest mark was 92 in Afrikaans. Wanted to study medicine and was to choose another field. When a medical student drops, she can transfer to medicine. I don't understand the point there. Holden says, what's your opinion of this as Secretary of State Andrew Shapiro during the time of the Arab Spring? My position on the Arab Spring and the Obama administration is pretty clear. They're idiots, they're morons, and they caused the death of over 1 million people through their naive foreign policy and their encouragement of the Arab Spring. Yep. Free State got most pages with the second to last post on it. If you don't get above 50% in all subjects, I was black and blue. Shots fired, homocox. Life skills, how to throw Nardkeys. Ronaldo has 6 degrees. They won't acknowledge that. They're afraid of him. Who's afraid of him? The CT scanner invented something. There you go. When? 50 years ago. Life orientation doesn't count when it comes to university qualifications. I know that, Matthew. I'm having fun with it. In the South African Air Force, way back when the South African the pass mark was 95%. Coal into petrol. That's Sassel. That's what I was talking about. Yep. First heart transplant. I said that already. Looting comes from South Africa. The creepy crawly. There you go, NWA. That's the South African inventions. That's true. The pool cleaner. Yep. First brain transplant. Stop it. Best Army chopper. That's debatable. The Rui Falk is a fantastic helicopter, but it comes second to the Apache. But that's because the Apaches had so much longer for development and use than that one did. Shawnee, you're late. Friend's daughter wanted to study medicine after completing her BS degree. Couldn't get admission at Stellenbosch. She's now studying in the U.S. Exactly right. Okay, so 87.3% is historic rate. Well, so what? People passed. What did they pass with? When your pass rate's 50, how many of those people got 50? How many of those people got 95? The historic pass rate. How many? What's the median? What's the average? And that's a more useful statistic. What is the median score for the Pretoria High School for girls graduating who take these exams? In science, was it 93? That's impressive. Was it 53? Not impressive. Yep, that's what matters. So, BOSA, Bill 1 South Africa, is attacking the Democratic Alliance for their rank hypocrisy over the pass rate. BOSA criticized the DA of hypocrisy, accusing them of supporting a misleading 87.3% matrix pass rate after previously challenging similar statistics. While the DA in previous years disputed the pass rate due to the dropout rate, it has not done so this year. Now BOSA is hammering on the statistic to dispute the announced pass rate. BOSA, through its acting spokesperson Roger Solomon, has accused the DA of rank hypocrisy. The DA knows full well that the pass rate of 87.3% announced by the minister is deceptive statistical gymnastics. There you go. The matrix pass can be obtained by passing 3 subjects at 30%, 3 subjects at 40%, essentially a 35% aggregate, and 2, the actual pass rate is typically around 50% mark when considered the number of leavers dropping since the system since they entered grade 1. Boom, shakalaka. You got it right there. Thank you, Bill 1 South Africa. I haven't really had much to say about Bill 1 South Africa and Musi Maimani's vanity project, but I will say, hey, spot on. Spot on. And the DA has repeatedly called out those statistics for the exact same reasons over the years. But suddenly, they're part of the problem. They're part of the problem. Raymond Zondo, the former Chief Justice, is facing a backlash over the state capture inquiry error. Former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has come under heavy criticism after acknowledging that the evidence in the state capture inquiry claiming 9 billion rand in missing assets during Arthur Fraser's tenure was incorrect. The recent development was revealed in court papers responding to Fraser's challenge. It wasn't 9 billion, it was just 9 million. Oops. There's one of those matric graduates right there. Sorry. Look, I'm not trying to demean the kids who worked really hard. I'm just making a point about the system. It's just broken. Political parties are making hay. They're congratulating the matric class while demanding education system overhaul. Many voices have raised concerns about the state of South Africa's education system, calling for urgent reforms to address disparities and systemic challenges. Yep. That's exactly right. So I'm getting attacked for my stance on education outcomes in South Africa, but South African political parties are saying exactly the same thing that I'm saying. Analysts in South Africa are also making the same conclusions that I've come up with. Not quite as insightful as my conclusions, but they're on the track. My goodness. The deputy minister ascribes the 87.3% pass rate to strengthening and maturing education system. We are very happy. That's why we thank our predecessors. Those who worked on the ground when it was still tough and they leveled it, and now we're moving on through the red carpet. She, former Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, is very proud because to me, it's her work. Oh, dear God. Well, here's a student, congratulations to him, who excels in physics despite starting only 11th grade. Kogolango Boloye, a matriculant from Soweto, achieved 6 distinctions, congratulations, including 1 in physical science. The subject he only began studying in 11th grade. He transitioned from a commerce stream to a science stream in grade 11, inspired by a teacher who believed in his potential to excel. He celebrated 100% matric pass rate for the second consecutive year his school did, and 86% of students achieved a bachelor's pass. So I'm a little puzzled by this. Congratulations, young man, and I'm not throwing rain on him, but I had physical science in high school in 11th grade, and that's it, 1 year, and I learned science. We don't need 4 years to learn science. Why are they making a big deal about this? He only did it in 1 year? That's what we do. The only subjects we get repeatedly are different forms of mathematics and English. Then you get, so I'm really confused by that one. I will confused by that. Daughter ended up studying medicine at Oxford, nearly bankrupt. Yeah, no doubt in that one, I'm sure. Prostate check, what? Pass rate should be 70%, exactly. Everything will be better, exactly. Boss is correct. Well, there they are, and so am I. All right, so Ugandan opposition figure, once upon a time a physician for the current president, has been jailed over treachery. Now treachery is a crime. Ugandan opposition figure Besigye hit with an extra charge carrying death penalty. Can you believe that? Ugandan military prosecutors on Monday added a charge. Military? Why is he's not in the military? Added a charge of treachery, which carries the death penalty, to the list of violations of military law they say were committed by a prominent opposition figure. Military law? What the hell is that? Kizza Besigye, a veteran political foe of President Museveni, who's been in power for 40 years, was detained in Kenya in November. He was brought back home and charged with illegal possession of firearms and with undermining the East African country's security in a military court. Despite being a civilian, he's been kept in prison in the capital of Kampala since then, together with an aide with whom he was detained and charged. His wife, the executive director of the United Nations agency UNAIDS, has said the charges against him are politically motivated. His lawyers have rejected the charges as baseless. During a court hearing on Monday, a military prosecutor read him and his co-accused the new charge of treachery. According to a charge sheet seen by Reuters, he possessed intelligence about a plot to undermine national security, but consciously withheld the said vital information from the proper authorities. Are you serious? Wow, talk about abuse of power. Talk about unbelievable abuse of power. But that is what happens in kangaroo countries, like the United States on January 6th. Did I say that out loud? Did I say that out loud? Survival mode for folks affected by earthquakes in Ethiopia. Yep, look at that road, man. Under a makeshift shelter, Musa Akile kills time chewing the stimulant khat, wondering where his family will get its next meal after fleeing a series of earthquakes that have shaken several regions of Ethiopia. Yeah, well, my first argument would be stop chewing khat. That's a bad idea, moron. You don't need to be intoxicated to live through life. Nigeria's Air Force is investigating civilian deaths after an airstrike. The Army and Air Force have increasingly used aerial assaults against growing threat in the northwest and central region posed by armed criminal gangs known as bandits. Spokesman for the Air Force, Vice Marshal Akinboyewa, said late on Sunday that an airstrike in northwestern Zamfara state had targeted bandits, but 15 civilians, including local security guards, were killed. So that's not good. Sierra Leone has declared an emergency, a public health emergency over monkeypox. Sierra Leone declared a public health emergency on Monday to combat monkeypox, announcing it was stepping up surveillance at its borders after confirming 2 cases of the deadly viral disease. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no bigotry against monkeys. It's called monkeypox, because that's where it was first observed, and that's how we do things. Ebola, a river in Zaire. Hanta, a river in South Korea. Lhasa, another river. West Nile virus. These are all viruses named for the place they were first observed. Marburg virus, observed in Germany, in medieval city, even though it came from the Congo or Burundi. Yeah, so monkeypox. Say it with me, monkeypox. Ghana is looking for more money from the IMF. Those evil white people. Stop getting money. Stop getting in. Evil white people. Yeah, we can make a song like evil white people. Yep. Ghana's new government could seek additional funding from the International Monetary Fund during its current 3-year program with a lender in order to cushion the economy, according to Finance Minister designate Kasil Atto-Forson. We're committed to working with the IMF. Oh, no, my brother, do not work with the evil white man. Evil white man. Evil white man. It's like evil woman. Israel and Hamas are finalizing that Gaza ceasefire agreement, as I mentioned earlier. Meanwhile, the largest gathering of Homo sapiens on the planet is taking place in India, where 400 million Hindu pilgrims from around the planet are expected to bathe in and around the Ganges in the religion's biggest display of unity. 400 million people are going to step into the water. Not going to the Ganges. Oh. You know how many of those people are going to pee in the water? Think about it. 400 million people. Hey, get a whiz. Pardon me. 400 million people descending into the Ganges for a religious event. This is every 12 years this takes place. It's insane, folks. Wow. That was yesterday. Hindu pilgrims taking the holy dip. Wow. Crazy. Tens of millions of Hindus are convening this week in what is expected to be the world's largest human gathering, where a staggering number of devotees, tourists, politicians, and celebrities take sacred dips at the convergence of two holy rivers. The religious festival, called the Maha Kumbh Mela, happens every 12 years on the banks of the Ganges and Yamuna rivers in northern Indian city of Prayagraj. 400 million people. That's larger than the population of the United States. My goodness. Arctic believes that AIDS came from that. No idea. That's not where I believe it came from. Anyway, no, it has nothing to do with sex. People infected blood from killing other primates. Ukraine is offering 150 firefighters to help out California. Yay! If deployed, Ukraine would join Canada and Mexico in battling the blazes in the Golden State. Ukraine has offered to send firefighters to help the battle in raging wildfires in California. Today, I instructed Ukraine's Minister of Internal Affairs and our diplomats to prepare for the possible participation of our rescuers in combating the wildfires in California. The situation there is extremely difficult, and Ukrainians can help Americans save lives. This is currently being coordinated, and we have offered our assistance to the American side through relevant channels. I have a better idea. You want to save lives there, Volodymyr Zelensky? Then capitulate and come to peace terms with Vladimir Putin. Boom. Done and dusted. People stop dying. Isn't that easy? So easy. NATO has announced a new mission and stepped up maritime patrols to protect undersea cables in the Baltic. Where was this when the Nord Stream pipeline was blown up last year? Why did they wait for the cables to be drug and destroyed? NATO announces a new mission to protect undersea cables in the Baltic Sea. Mark Rutte, the Dutch fellow, NATO Secretary General, former Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Mark Rutte, announced Tuesday that the alliance is launching a new mission to protect undersea cables in the Baltic region. Well, just a year late, dingbat. I know you weren't the guy a year ago. It was the other clown, so the Danish clown. So, Jens Stoltenberg. Or is he Norwegian? I think he's Danish. Well, in the United Kingdom, they're running out of natural gas. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're running out of natural gas. There'll be no electricity. So the Tories say, and the Labour says they're just scaremongering. Except they're not scaremongering. Minister extremist scaremongers to suggest UK close to experiencing blackouts. Michael Shanks, not the guy that played on Stargate, made a claim as members of Parliament on the Conservative benches raised concerns over the government's approach to energy supplies. An energy minister has accused Tory MPs of extremist scaremongering as he denied the UK was close to experiencing blackouts during the cold snap. Michael Shanks, not the actor from Stargate, said at no point was the prospect of blackouts a concern for the government, despite warnings from the energy giant Centrica that UK gas supplies fell to concerningly low levels with less than 1 week's worth of natural gas in storage. Yeah, no. So the Tories are just being alarmist. There's less than a week of natural gas for a country of 68 million people. Yeah, okay. Pablo Charlie says Mark Rutte is from the Netherlands. Disrespectful behavior. I did say he was from the Netherlands. I said Jens Stoltenberg is from Denmark or Norway. I think he's from Denmark. I did say former Prime Minister of the Netherlands. Did I not? I did say that Pablo Charlie is not disrespectful. Not disrespectful. No. So you're not listening. You're hearing what you want to hear. Europe accuses China of unfairly blocking EU companies. Well, welcome to the party, EU. We've been telling you this for 20 years, since Clinton foolishly sponsored the admission of China, the communists, into the World Trade Organization. They finally woke up to this. Brussels is saying that Europe is following U.S. lead and pushing back against China. The European Union said Tuesday that a months-long probe into China's procurement markets found it unfairly discriminates against European medical devices. China favors domestic suppliers and restricts the procurement of import devices. Yes, exactly. And they do that in every field, including automobiles and tech. Well, we've been told that if you say things about the grooming story in the UK, that you will be arrested. But funny, a Labour MP, Sarah Champion, has proposed a national Telford-style inquiry rolled out by the Home Office to areas that trigger the threshold for greater security. Labour MP for Rotherham, which is one of the most famous sexual grooming sites, the lives of young English white girls destroyed, completely destroyed. Many of them dead now, addicted to substances, or just simply lives trashed by the sexual abuse and trauma they suffered from these Pakistani and Indians and others who traumatized and abused them while the police stood by and did nothing. Rotherham, adjacent to Sheffield, not far from Manchester, in the Midlands. Yes, that's what we're talking about. So the Labour MP for Rotherham has called for a national inquiry into the grooming gangs, calling child sexual abuse in the UK endemic. No, it's not endemic. It's not endemic. These people aren't English, Welsh, Scots, or Irish. So it's not endemic. It's imported. It's imported. It's now enduring, but it's not endemic. It's imported. It's imported. And look, Labour MP is calling for an investigation. So how can it be fake? How can it be fake news? How can it be the fantasy of Elon Musk if a Labour MP is calling for it in the town most directly affected by this grooming sexual crisis that happened in the UK? Yep. Meanwhile, in Greenland, they don't want to be an American state, or colony, or territory, but they do want to talk. Greenland to Trump. We're not for sale, but let's talk business. Can we talk? The Prime Minister said that while Greenlanders do not want to become Americans, the reality is we're going to work with the U.S. yesterday, today, and tomorrow. There you go. Here. That works for me. And when they're independent, they'll become our friends. We'll have a Greenland USA. We'll have a green, red, white, and blue treaty. Mexico's president rolls out a plan aimed at curbing Chinese imports. Ooh, it's not just the U.S., it's not just Canada, it's not just the EU, it's also Mexico. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon about the Chinese and their unfair trade practices, their artificial barriers to imports, and their industrial espionage. Well, the world's waking up. It's about time. Claudia Sheinbaum says she'll also defend the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade pact due for review in 2026. That's going to be great. Boy, I tell you what, Trump didn't get that second term, but now he's back, and the U.S.-Canada-Mexico trade agreement would have expired when he was out of office. Now it expires while he's in office. Wait till you see how much a better deal we get in 2026. Artie says men of Asian descent. No, some were Pakistani nationals. Washington braces for Donald Trump. Now, get this. On January 6th of 2021, I covered the events as a journalist in Washington, D.C. Yes, I'm also a journalist as well. Covered the events there on January 6th, 2021. I find it funny how people question my bona fides. I mean, honestly, am I going to sit up here and tell you fairy tales? I'm a retired colonel. Look, people may be in the habit of people lying to them all the time because of what they do in life or where they live in life, or that's their custom. But why in the world would I do that? When I could be called out on it so easily. So easily be called out on it, ridiculous. I knew I was receiving an award from the governor of Liberia for a long time before I received it. Never mentioned. The award never got to me because they couldn't get it to me. I wasn't traveling to Liberia. I had to wait over a year after I was awarded the thing before it finally came to me, and then they updated the date on it. But I didn't run around and claim that I had the award. I had people claim that I had this and that, and I correct the record. Why people would question my bona fides when I share them is beyond me. I guess you're just used to people lying to you. Well, I don't lie to people. On January 6th of 2021, the security presence on the mall, on the Ellipse, at the Capitol building was virtually non-existent, except for Secret Service agents I saw on the Ellipse and one D.C. Metro police car, no unmarked cars, no agents, a couple snipers on top of the Federal Trade Commission building, and that was about it. And then at the Capitol building, a few dozen officers behind bicycle racks wearing bicycle helmets, allowing people to climb up onto a television tower without jersey barriers, without any effort to stop the crowd. Contrast that with Trump's inauguration, which takes place on Monday. And look at this. Washington braces for Trump inauguration with fortress-like fencing and extra police. With 48 kilometers of tall black temporary fencing, 25,000 law enforcement officers, and security checkpoints set up to process hundreds of thousands of spectators, Washington is braced for President-elect Trump's inauguration. The Monday swearing in the steps of the U.S. Capitol and parade to the White House will follow a weekend featuring protests by Trump opponents and parties and rallies by Republican supporters. 25,000 law enforcement officials. Wow. 25,000. Yet Muriel Bowser called out 100 National Guardsmen, and the Capitol Police put 36 cops on the steps for January 6th. So you see, they have the resources. They just didn't have the will to employ them. Department of Justice's illegally appointed extrajudicial Jack Smith special prosecutor, which is a criminal act, appointing him by Merrick Garland's Justice Department, or Department of Injustice, has released his special report, and I've taken a look at it. In the report, the special counsel said he believes the evidence against Trump was strong enough to yield a conviction. Well, that's just total nonsense. He says that he would have gotten a conviction had he been allowed to go forward. Indeed, but for Mr. Trump's election and imminent return to the presidency, the office assessed that the admissible evidence was sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction at trial. This in his 174-page fantasy island narrative. And let me just give an example of that. Let me pull that bad boy up, okay? And I'm going to find something that I read about the so-called fake electors, okay? So let me get this to come up on the screen, okay? All right, so here you go. I'm going to show you this on the screen, and we're going to go to the so-called fake electors segment. I'm not going to show you 174 pages. January 7th, 2025. So he sends it to Meritless Garland. That's his letter. And let's go down here. We're going to zip ahead 4 pages of, all about him and what he did. So final report. Here's the table of contents. All right, Mr. Trump's fraudulent elector plan, page 11. So let's zip down to page 11. I'm going to read this to you. Here's page 11. As December 14th, the date the ECA required each state's electors to vote and send their certificates to vote to Congress approached, Mr. Trump and co-conspirators launched another plan. Under this plan, they would organize the people who would have served as Mr. Trump's electors had he won the popular vote in 7 states that Mr. Trump had lost: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and cause them to sign and send to Washington false certifications claiming to be legitimate electors. All right, here's the problem with that. The argument they initially made is that Trump picked an alternate slate. There were Republican electors, and he created this other slate, which was a lie. He didn't come up with a bunch. So what they said is Trump just picked a bunch of his cronies to push aside the Republican electors. We've covered this. There is precedent for this. In 1960, Richard Nixon won the state of Hawaii, the first time Hawaii was in a national election, because they were a territory in 1959, 1960, they were a state. So they participated. Richard Nixon won the vote. The Republicans signed their certificate as electoral voters and went to Washington. Meanwhile, because the margin was so close, there was an automatic recount of the votes. On the recount, a few weeks later, they determined that Richard Nixon did win the election. It was actually John F. Kennedy. So the Democrats also sent their electors to Washington, D.C. with their certificates. Both the Democrats and Republicans presented their certificates, even though Hawaii had just certified the state for Kennedy. So this isn't a crime. This is not a crime. Jack Smith is a demented, hate-wanking spit monkey. Unbelievable. That's just nonsense. That's what we're dealing with here. This total fabrication of nonsense. Yeah, but he says, hey, I would have got him. I had the guy. Yeah, just give me the time. I could have got him because he committed a crime. He didn't commit a crime. It's a fantasy. The report, which said the special counsel's office stood fully behind the merits of the prosecution, amounted to an extraordinary rebuke of the president-elect. No, it amounts to an extraordinary rebuke of common sense. It's all nonsense. Well, Texas is set for a showdown over age verification law to access adult content, and I don't support this. Childhood development safety experts have staked out opposing positions in the Supreme Court before arguments this week in Texas over requiring age verification to access online adult content. The International Center for Missing and Exploited Children told the High Court that the state law is not as effective as age verification measures on devices that shield dangerous material from minors. There's a better way to protect children from harmful content. Implementing age verification and filtering content directly on devices rather than on websites. Exactly. Said the Texas law is ineffective, and it unfairly collects data on those of us who would travel to gambling sites or whatever sites might be out there. Well, Joe Biden is busy promoting his successful foreign policy regime. Biden promotes his foreign policy during his final week in office. With just a week left until this moron leaves office, he says, right now, in my view, thanks to our administration, the United States is winning the worldwide competition. Compared to 4 years ago, America is stronger, our alliances are stronger, our adversaries and competitors are weaker, and we've not gone to war to make these things happen. Yes, and the fires in Los Angeles have been put out, too. He's a delusional crap weasel, Joe Biden is. A spit monkey. He's a self-wanking spit monkey. I just made that one up, Garrett, because monkey spit. They spit at you, spit monkey. Biden didn't win Arizona. Everyone in Arizona realized that, including Biden. Yep. Read in the past that Indian pharmaceutical companies discharge waste. Oh, they do. Antibiotics in the river where it mixes effluent, increasing chance of antibiotics. Exactly, that's correct. But they're not alone in that. Other companies do the same. We have a real problem here in the developed world where women take birth control at alarmingly high rates, and the extra estrogen that's released from their urine goes into the water that gets processed, and it gets dumped into our rivers and streams and our bays and estuaries. As a consequence, we have abnormally high levels of estrogen in fish and crustaceans and other things. Yep. Obviously, senility brings on delusion. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Elon should sanction the ANC hate wakers. Yep. What's a spit monkey? See Trump buying Robben Island, showing up in a boat. All right. Crap hitting the fan on the beach. Chris, did any law enforcement use any? No, they didn't. Robert, I contacted within a couple of days of that happening because I was angry about the people who were trying to incite the crowd, and I had showed you the footage of one guy trying to incite the crowd, and also others who committed an offense. I offered that up, sent still photographs, and told them I had video to the FBI's website. I never heard from the FBI. Never heard. I had no footage of people entering the building. That didn't occur while I was present. That occurred after I departed. I departed at 2:25, and no one went in the building until around that time, and I was already down the street when that started. I didn't even know about it till later. So they had no interest in what I was trying to show them, because it wasn't about getting people who were there intentionally inciting the crowd. It was about getting the people who went into the building so that they could run this false narrative that Trump incited a riot, incited a insurrection, which no one's been charged with insurrection. People have been charged with sedition, which is nonsense too. But it was all about that narrative. That's why there are only 100 National Guardsmen called out, so that Muriel Bowser had top coverage saying, I called out the guard. That's why they covered up the fact that Kash Patel at the Department of Defense had shared the memo with Muriel Bowser and with Nancy Pelosi, authorizing as many as 20,000 National Guardsmen from the District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania. And those guardsmen were not called up because Muriel Bowser and Nancy Pelosi refused them. And now people are saying, well, you just send them. You can't. The Capitol grounds are the security responsibility of the Capitol Police. So you can't just put the military there unless you declare martial law. And there's no reason to declare martial law. That would have been silly. January 6th was a dog chasing a car and very stupid. It was allowed to happen. It was intentional. It was allowed to happen. The grooming gangs consist primarily of British, Pakistani Muslims. Government were too scared to take action. Correct. All right, what else we got there? Colonel identifies as a journalist. That's correct, Matthew. I do. Muslim wives happy they don't have to deal with their arranged husband's needs. Good Lord. At least they're not useless. What's this? African Idiot says, liking all that is happening even before Trump is in office. Like it. What has, he will say, the UN, I think, I'm not sure we go there. Yes, knowing 40 years under the, oh, you made tracks in the 1990s, John. Okay, you're out of there. When people use a river as a toilet, wash clothes, knowing a few kilometers downstream others are drinking the water, just proves how people care for each other. Exactly, Sedgefield, exactly, 100%. 100% correct. When people do that, they know that other people use it. They don't care. They don't care. That's why we had such short life expectancies in medieval London and Frankfurt and Berlin and Paris, because people were taking a dump and pissing. You know, in these medieval cities, they just threw their effluent out the window. They threw the trash in the street below them. They just did it. It's disgusting. Disgusting. Looks like Romania will be the next and new area of operations for the Special Activities Division. Okay. And Pablo Charlie took offense to me mentioning Mark Rutte is from the Netherlands. Why did you take offense to that? Why did you take offense to that? Have you ever heard about the rugby legend murdered on a small holding outside Bloemfontein? I heard about, yeah, that wasn't recent. That was about 6 months ago, wasn't it? And I covered it. Sunny on the View said that January 6th is worse than what. Yeah, she's a moron. She's a race hustling moron. Yeah, chickens for KFC, cows for Spur. You guys are killing me. You're killing me with that stuff. You're killing me. All right, man, you guys are killing me. I'm just thinking now, it's awesome that every time I enter this chat, I learn something new and not just the news. It's Chris's knowledge and Wildfires. Thank you very much, Lalo. Appreciate you being here. Do appreciate you being here, and thanks for being a subscriber. I got to get that education video out today. Hopefully, I'll get some views. But I think that's going to be maybe 1,200, 2,000 views. If I get beyond that, I'll be surprised. But I think I should get a lot of views because I don't see anyone else's videos coming out right now talking about it. I'm first to publish, I think, on that. So, anyway, yeah. USA is going African. Well, we were. We're going to turn it around now. We're going to turn it around, get some responsible governance here. But the left will have you believe that Donald Trump is a dictator. He's fascist. He's Hitler. Remember that? Remember all that talk? Where'd that go? Where did that go? They all said it. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden said it. Every Democrat in Congress said it. Donald Trump will rule illegally. Donald Trump will, and the left is saying it. The media in South Africa, oh my God, Trump's coming. Oh my God. The European media, oh my God, Trump is, fascist. They're not saying it now. They're not saying it now. They're not saying it now. Anyway, yeah, so Oh, they'll pick it up again. They'll pick up that charge again and start with that nonsense. But yeah. Anyway, folks, we are already 14 days into 2025. Can you believe that? So look at this here. Look at this. This is from, I've showed you this before. This is from June 22nd. So it's been 6 months, going on 7 months now. This is the Vodacom URC Grand Finale. Vodacom Bulls versus Glasgow Warriors. Northwest Suites. Check it out. There's my ticket for that game. How cool is that? That was so cool. Yep. Lots of people are going to have regrets, crying. Well, yeah, exactly. There are a lot of regrets out there. Pete Bester, an old Griquas and Free State player, was killed last week. Oh, that one I don't know about. Okay, let me look that up. Thank you for sharing that. That was news to me. I didn't see that. Yeah, I did not see that. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, yeah, it's on News 24. How did I miss that? See, I hate this News 24 because of my IP address. It doesn't give me the same stories. Free State Police have confirmed the arrest of 2 suspects in the murder of former Curry Cup player and former magistrate Pete Christian Bester, whose body was discovered on January 12th at a small holding in Bloemfontein. That's just 2 days ago. The arrests were made following the prompt action of the local farming community. The body of Bester, 63, was discovered by a worker at approximately 9 a.m. lying in a pool of blood, having sustained multiple stab wounds. The arrest marks a breakthrough and demonstrates the importance of collaboration between the community and law enforcement. According to News 24, Bester, renowned for his strength in the rugby field, made waves during the 1990s while playing for Free State in the Griquas. His remarkable scrummaging skills made him a key figure in the tight five. Weighing less than 80 kgs when he started his career, he eventually bulked up to 95. He's also a junior Springbok team. So, it doesn't say what happened to him here. It's believed that Bester was hit with a sharp object on his head on his small holding in the Glen District outside Bloemfontein. Wow. The likes of Kobus Wiese, Ruben Krüger, Tian Strauss, Joost van der Westhuizen, Yanni de Beer all featured in a match that he played in with the Junior Springboks. Huh. Wow. I'm going to have to do a video on this. Brutal crime has sent shockwaves through the farming community. Yep. Farmers, they don't care who you are. They just come and kill you. Yep, and your family. Yep. We should go to the LA Rams versus Eagles. Light Ray says, don't forget AOC got terrified by her own security detail while hiding in a bathroom. Exactly. In a completely different building that was only accessible by an underground tunnel that was guarded by armed security, and it went across the street to the Rayburn office building. Yeah, she was almost violated by her own imagination. Exactly. It's worse than Hiroshima. You're right. You're right. Yeah, she was almost killed. What a crock of horse manure. I've been in that building. I've been in the Capitol building. I've been in the Rayburn office building. She's so full of crap, her eyes are brown. Actually, her eyes are brown. How do I know that? Because I want to date her. We all want to date AOC. I'll confess now. I've got the hots for her. I've got the hots for AOC. She's so sexy. Sexy mama. Latina. In flagrante. Wow. Miss Soul on fire singing hot, hot, hot. Ooh, AOC. Oh, let me get a picture of her. Let me put her up on the screen. Come on, AOC. AOC. Do I have AOC? I wonder if I have any pictures of her. What? I have no pictures of her on my computer? What is that? I have a backup on my registry. Why did that show up there? Let me go find her. Alexandra. Not Alexander Ovechkin. I don't want that. Alexandra Ocasio. There she is. Oh, there she is. She's a smirking hot baby. I like that picture. Come on. That's from Axios. We'll get that one. Ooh, here you go. Here you go. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Here we go. Come on. Come on. Oh, come on. You Republicans, conservatives out there, know you want to date this. You know, she's such a smoking hot baby, man. Yeah, check it out. Ooh, here we go. Ooh, that's the wrong one. Wrong one. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Ooh, AOC. AOC. I love the bushy, thick eyebrows. I love the 18 pounds of makeup and the foundation she wears and the thick over coverage of lipstick she's got on there. Smartly dressed. Look at that. She's outside the Capitol building on November 19th. She's such a hottie. Such a hottie. Come on, Stinky the Squid. You know you want her. No, it's not Latinx. She's a Latina. Latinx is the plural. Not Latinx, Matthew. Latina. Latino, Latina. Latinx is the plural. She, in 20,000 words per day off. Don't make Matthew jealous. Very impressive CV, sir. I checked it out before I subscribed. Should have made general. Who did piss? Well, Richard, okay, again, of interest, full disclosure. So, in the U.S. Army, we have career fields and branches, as we call them. So, I was a military intelligence officer. And in the military intelligence career field, there are general officers. I think we have something like 28 or 34 generals total. I could be wrong on that number because it changes. But general means general. You could be covering anything. A general from one field could be put somewhere else. But we tend to put generals with especially like signal or logistics or intelligence into that field, in a general officer field, because it's more of a specialization. Anyway, if I'd stayed intelligence, I could have had a chance to become a general, but that's a crapshoot. I didn't join the Army to become a general. It would have been nice. It's not the ultimate. Making lieutenant colonel is the ultimate in the U.S. military. U.S. Army for certain. Making full colonel is incredible, and so few people make it. So, for instance, when I came on active duty, 8,900 officers were commissioned in 1989 U.S. Army as second lieutenants. 8,900. You can look it up. It's a matter of public record. 8,900. You might find some sources say 8,700, or people say this many from this source, but the bottom line is 8,900 were commissioned, active and reserve. 4,200 of those officers went on active duty from that year. Of the 4,200 second lieutenants who entered the Army in fiscal year 1989, I was one of them. And of the 4,200 officers who entered, by the time that I made full colonel, many, many years later, there were only 172 or 176 of us who made colonel. Now, there were probably 4 or 5 who made it a year early, but, so let's say 180. 180 out of 4,200. So they like to talk about high promotion rates, which they typically say are 20 to 25%, which is not high of those who are considered. But of 4,000, so let's go 180 colonels out of 4,200. That is a 4% promotion to colonel. Your chances of making colonel as a lieutenant are 4%. So that's pretty impressive. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just stating the facts. As far as a general officer, I wanted to be a foreign area officer for Africa. That was a goal of mine. It was a goal that I came up with in 1984 when I was a private at the Education Center in Bad Kreuznach, Germany. And I had to go in to sign up for college classes. When I signed up for college classes, they had a little education. And I have my folder somewhere. I wrote it in pencil. And it says, "What's your career goal?" And I wrote colonel. I just wrote COL. So I came up with that goal, and I mapped out a plan to go back to college, finish my bachelor's degree at Ohio University, fix my grades, which were terrible, and I did do that. Come back in as a military intelligence officer, and then when it was time, be assessed to be sent into the foreign area officer field, which at the time, making lieutenant colonel was very difficult in that career field. Making colonel was unheard of. Very few people made that. So I made that decision. I stuck to that plan. I made my career built it around achieving that, and I did achieve it. The problem is that there are no general officer positions in Africa, and I wanted Africa. I didn't want Russia, Soviet Union. I didn't want Europe. I didn't want Asia. Didn't want China. Those are all separate ones. Didn't want Latin America. I wanted Africa because that was the most interesting to me, and I thought I could make the most difference there. And I was right. But there's no general officer positions, so I couldn't make general. There have been some really fantastic other officers who were colleagues or a couple years ahead of me, a couple years behind me, who also could have made great generals, but there's no position. Ironically, one of them who's junior to me, whom I replaced in Uganda, actually became a general officer, but that was entirely political, which is what general officers are. And so he had worked with people outside our career field at the command, and they liked him, and so they pushed to make him a general, and he got nominated and became a general. So he made a 1-star. But he did continue to work in the field, the area where foreign area officers work. But he didn't get promoted because he was an African guy. He got promoted because he was known by general officers. Anyway, so there was no chance of me making general, and I knew that, and that's fine. I didn't join. It's like right now. I could leave what I'm doing right now and make 6-figure salary teaching at a university. And there's a couple jobs around here that are available. I could do the same thing, making 6 figures working at the War College, teaching the distance education course or teaching the resident course. I could get a job doing lots of things, but I choose not to do that because I wouldn't be available for this. And that doesn't mean if somebody offers it to me, I might not take it at some point, but I'm not actively pursuing those things because I'm trying to make a difference in the world. So anyway. But yeah, thank you for the comment on my CV there, Richard. So why not? Because I don't find Latin America even remotely interesting because I was discriminated against by Puerto Ricans when I was a kid. They were abusive, rude, unfair to me, and I didn't like it. And so I had no interest in Spanish. So I intentionally didn't learn Spanish throughout my life, although in America you're forced to get some of it through osmosis because of the promotion of Spanish over English in this country by leftists. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Maque novo... Continue en español, maque nuevo, whatever. You're forced to learn that crap. But no, I didn't care for Spanish and not interested. And Portuguese, Brazil doesn't interest me either. So what do intelligence officers do on a daily basis? Pablo Charlie, depends on what you're doing. There's all kinds of intelligence specialties. There's staff officers, there's counterintelligence, there's signals intelligence, there's tactical intelligence, there's strategic intelligence, there's imagery intelligence. It depends where you're at and what you're doing. And then there's spies. But that's so small a field. So there you go. And Layla says, and we appreciate that, Chris. You're very welcome, Layla. So Pablo Charlie, it's hard to say. I mean, when I worked at the National Security, at the Defense Intelligence Agency, I was initially an analyst for just a few months when I first arrived on Southern Africa. Then I was picked to be the chief for the Southern African branch. Don't get impressed. I only had 2 other analysts. So I had a team of 3, including me. And our job was to anticipate issues of concern for the Department of Defense in Africa, and also to inform leadership about what's happening in Africa and what will happen in Africa. So we had a series of different reports, investigative reports, short news briefs, slides we prepare on a daily basis. So for instance, when Israel and Lebanon's war broke out and I was working there, our analysts for the Middle East wound up doing daily presidential daily briefs, and I actually got involved in some of that stuff. Plus I did my own daily briefs. So I would go to the Pentagon. Initially I was at the on the other side of the river at Bowling Air Force Base. But then I would go to the Pentagon every day and to the base of the Pentagon, to our office, and I would go through classified reports from a variety of sources. I would go through the open source media, and I would find things that are happening or that I see are likely to happen as a consequence of that. And then I would draft a report, do the analysis, get it edited, and then get it published, and sometimes do the briefing as well. So yeah, I did a lot of writing, a lot of briefing, a lot of research. And so when people come at me like I don't know what I'm talking about, I just find that hilarious. I mean, what do you think I did for a living? When I worked as an intelligence officer in a battalion, it was very different. We were responsible for physical security of facilities, so alarm systems for arms rooms and for weapons storage, also gate security, installation access. We're also responsible for document security, documents being stored properly and marked properly, yada, yada, yada. Investigations, doing investigations on people for their clearances, as well as preparing our forces for a tactical fight. So we'd have to train our soldiers on how to do intelligence analysis of the threat, in this case, the Soviet threat. And so we did that. And when we go to the exercise, we'd face a Soviet threat, either on the ground, someone playing the role of the Soviet Union with vehicles with marked up, so it looked like BMPs and BTRs and T-72s, or we'd do it in the computer and we'd still be in the field. So it's all over the place. When I worked at the Defense Intelligence Agency, I wrote for President Bush multiple times. So Richard says, thank you, sir. Private sergeant to reenlisted officer, lieutenant, full colonel. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, no, I started as a private, made sergeant, went back to the Guard, served as a sergeant, and as a cadet while I was there, and then came back in as a second lieutenant, made full colonel. Yep. Be thankful you don't earn rands. I can't tell you the rand was stronger than the dollar. Yeah, that's a while ago. See more Pink Panther. What? Hardware intelligence, too. Yeah, and then the other thing is, so look, I don't run around professing to be an IT expert, but I'm well versed in IT, and I don't profess to be a computer expert. I'm versed in it. I mean, I had someone help me a few months ago when my registry got all screwed up. We tried to fix it. Remember that? That was a disaster when that software uninstalled and reset my registry. What a mess that was. In fact, I've got a piece of software that I'm afraid to take off right now because I don't mess my registry up. I'm going to wait till a day when I have time, copy the backup registry, and go through the whole process again. But that was, so this computer has given me all kinds of problems. That, then we had the internet connection issue, then the The coolant system was screwed up. Whew, man, it's amazing. I still have this computer. I had some bad weeks there a few months ago, just one after the other. But I used to write software. I used to write in code, BASIC and a little bit of Fortran and COBOL. I don't even remember any of that stuff, but I did that. I'm one of the first people to publish on the internet in 1995. When in 1994 is when the first graphical web-based browser came out from Mark Anderson and his research team at the University of Illinois in Carbondale, Illinois, and they came out with Mosaic. And I used Mosaic early on. Then there was something called Internet in a Box, which had their own browser. I bought that at a discount warehouse, which is no longer in business, out in Sierra Vista, Arizona in 1989, and used that. Or was it 1994. I said 89, I meant 94. 94. And and I used CompuServe and America Online and Microsoft's Crappy Bob. Yeah, and all that stuff. Never had Prodigy, though, that I can recall. Used all the services, did all the stuff, did dial-up message boards, internet relay chat, all that stuff back in the day. Yeah, built computers, built my own PCs. So I have some background in all that, but I haven't just enough in those fields to make myself dangerous. Yeah, Artie says I was the second person to ever use a typewriter. Actually, I was the second person to ever use the telegraph and the Pony Express. The second letter ever delivered in the Pony Express was a love letter I sent to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because I knew she'd be born years later. Alexandra, my love. I write to you from 1858 in the prairie of Kansas on the Pony Express. This letter will be delivered to you in Washington. I love you, Alexandria, even though you won't be born to the year 1996. Yeah, no, look, I mean, so it's funny, it's like Jono, now I don't know if Jono was being a smart ass, or maybe Jono's asking a serious question, but it came across as a smart, well, you just the other day, you claimed to be a federal law enforcement officer. Well, I am. No, I can't get the semaphores down. If you watch my rugby broadcast, you'll see that I have flags, and I can't quite get the Stormers flags right for the semaphores. But you ate the carrier pigeons that kept shitting in uniform. Boer goats are worth a little fortune in UK. Some amazing specimens. Okay. She's watching. Oh, Alexandria. Anyway, yeah, no, so there you go. 6 figures is still 6 figures. Yeah, well, NWA said, yeah, maybe I should go do 6 figures, huh? Get some money, overcome that Biden inflation, take a job. Well, then I wouldn't be able to travel the way I do. So, I mean, what job would let me disappear for a month? Matthew says, I think the Colonel will be a terrible spy, way too loud. Well, see, Matthew, you see one persona, one visage of who Chris is. You have no idea how I really am when I need to be. Anyway, so we all wear disguises. Some are more fetching than others. Anyway, folks, that's going to do it here. We're coming up an hour. Seasonal strawberry picker. Are you or me? Now, I used to pick strawberries, but I think we're all seasonal strawberry pickers. Used to be used to grow potatoes and tomatoes and sweet peas and corn, all kinds of stuff. You're correct, Arctic. That's why I'm hungry. My retirement income is eaten alive by the IRS and the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue. I just sent $7,500 to the IRS and Pennsylvania in December. Ouch, that's a lot of money. A lot of money. Leave the secret agent alone, Charles. Anyway, that's going to do it, folks. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Hit the like button. We hit 100. Thank you for that. Got one super chat. Thank you for that from Courtney earlier. Do appreciate it. Is that for 1 quarter of the whole year? Shawnee, I didn't pay estimated taxes for part of the year, and so it covered part of the year. Because I'm overpaying to make sure I had enough. How can the security crisis in Africa be solved? Paul, which security crisis in what part of Africa, and when do you want it solved? These are long-term answers, long-term solutions. 6,000 for me, but Lord knows I can't vote. Well, paying taxes doesn't get you the right to vote. And that's lost on Democrats. All these immigrants pay taxes. So what? So what? Taxes are not why you get to vote. It kills me that the Democrats would even think that because, we had Jim Crow laws to prevent black Americans from voting. Why? Well, because they didn't own land and paid land taxes. so they couldn't vote. Why in the world would someone base the concept of voting off of paying taxes? Being a lawful citizen who is not a convicted felon gives you the right to vote in America. As long as the piece of string makes you a prize voter. Well, I don't know about that. That's right. I'm a Renaissance man. All right. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks a lot. Catch you tomorrow. I'm going to go finish my education video. Please check in a little bit for my education video. I've got to finish editing that, about halfway through that. Cheers. Have a good night, and God bless. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't done already. Where is the piece of string from? Exactly. Cheers.